What's the most entitled request someone made that backfired horribly on them? I was working as a server at Marco's, this upscale Italian place downtown, when a woman in her mid-40s sat down in my section on a Tuesday night. She was alone, dressed in an expensive blazer, and immediately started snapping her fingers to get my attention before I could even finish greeting the table next to hers. When I came over, she didn't look up from her phone, just rattled off her order like I was an app she was talking to. Filet mignon, well done, but not too well done, with the sauce on the side, but warm, not hot. Caesar salad with exactly 6 anchovies, no more, no less. And she wanted her water room temperature with exactly 3 ice cubes. I wrote everything down and asked if she had any allergies I should know about. She finally looked at me and said, "Do I look like someone with allergies? Just bring the food the way I ordered it." The kitchen was slammed that night, but I put her order in exactly as specified. When I brought out her salad 20 minutes later, she counted the anchovies with her fork. There were 7. She pushed the plate away and told me to bring another one, and this time count them myself before bringing it out. I apologized and took the salad back. In the kitchen, Chef Antonio was furious about the waste, but I counted out exactly 6 anchovies and brought it back. She ate 3 bites, then called me over again. "The dressing tasted different," she said. I assured her it was the same Caesar dressing we made fresh that morning. She leaned back and said she wanted to speak to the owner. Not the manager, the owner. Right now. I told her the owner wasn't in tonight, but our manager could help her. She laughed and said, "I'll wait." Just like that. She crossed her arms and sat there, staring at her phone. 30 minutes passed. She didn't eat, didn't drink her weirdly specific water. Just sat there while other tables filled up and I had to work around her occupied table. My manager Luis came over twice asking if she was ready for her entree, and both times she said she was waiting for the owner. Here's where things got strange. Around 8:30, a man in a suit walked in and went straight to her table. He didn't sit down, just stood there and whispered something that made her face go completely white. She started shaking her head, saying no repeatedly, but he handed her a folder and walked away. She opened the folder right there, and I watched her hands start trembling. She looked around the restaurant like she was seeing it for the first time, her eyes wide with what looked like panic. Then she looked at me, really looked at me, and asked what my name was. "Danny," I told her. She asked how long I'd been working here. 2 years, I said. Did I like it? Strange question, but I said yes. The tips were good and the staff was great. Her face went even paler. She closed the folder and stood up so fast her chair fell backward. She tried to pick it up, but her hands were shaking too badly. I helped her, and she grabbed my arm and said, "I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Please tell him I didn't know." "Tell who?" I asked, but she was already rushing toward the door, leaving her untouched food and the folder on the table. I picked up the folder after she left. Inside was a job offer letter from Marco's restaurant group for the position of regional manager. Her first day was supposed to be tomorrow. She was supposed to supervise all 5 locations, including this one. Luis came over and looked at the folder with me. He pulled out his phone and showed me a photo from the company email that morning announcing the new regional manager. Same woman. Her name was Patricia Simmons. Luis made a call, put it on speaker. The voice on the other end was Marco himself, the owner she demanded to see. He asked what happened, and Luis explained the entire night. The finger snapping, the anchovies, the way she treated me specifically. There was a long silence. Then Marco said something that made my blood run cold. The rest of the story is on my channel or linked below. Patricia Simmons is fired before she begins. Marco's voice echoes through the speaker on Luis's phone. "The restaurant seems to go silent around us, though I know that's just my imagination. The other servers are still bustling about, oblivious to the drama unfolding at my table. I don't care if she was about to be regional manager," Marco continues, his Italian accent growing thicker with anger. "Nobody treats my staff like that. Nobody." I glance at Luis, who's nodding along with Marco's words, his expression grim but satisfied. The folder with Patricia's job offer still lies open on the table, next to her untouched filet mignon and the Caesar salad with exactly 6 anchovies. "Danny," Marco says, addressing me directly through the phone, "I am so sorry you had to deal with this woman. This is not what Marco stands for." "It's okay," I stammer, still processing what's happening. "I deal with difficult customers all the time." "No, it is not okay," Marco insists. "This woman has a history. She has failed at 3 management positions in the last 2 years. Always the same story. Entitled behavior, mistreating staff, impossible demands." Luis taps his phone screen and turns it toward me. "Look at this email thread," he says. "The HR director at Bellini's sent this warning after they let her go last month. We should have checked references more thoroughly." I scan the email, catching phrases like toxic management style and created hostile work environment. My stomach tightens as I realize how close we came to having this woman as our boss. "I will come in tomorrow morning personally to apologize to you and the staff," Marco promises. "For now, Luis will comp meals for your section to make up for the disruption." After we hang up, the restaurant returns to its normal rhythm, but with an undercurrent of excitement as Luis quietly spreads the news to the other servers. By closing time, everyone knows about Patricia Simmons, the regional manager who never was. As I'm counting my tips, the phone at the host stand rings. Marissa, our hostess, answers it and immediately grimaces. "It's her again," she whispers, covering the receiver. "Third time tonight." Luis takes the phone. "Marco's restaurant," he says professionally. I can hear Patricia's voice through the phone, high-pitched and desperate. Luis's expression remains neutral as he repeats, "I'm sorry, Miss Simmons, but Mr. Castellano will not be available until tomorrow morning. No, I cannot give you his personal number." When we finally lock up around midnight, I'm exhausted but still buzzing with adrenaline. As we walk to our cars, Luis fills me in on more details. She already gave notice at her last job, he tells me, and apparently put down a deposit on an apartment near our west side location. She's completely screwed herself. I wince despite myself. As entitled as Patricia had been, there's something tragic about watching someone's life implode so spectacularly in real time. The next morning, I arrive for my lunch shift to find the staff huddled in small groups, whispering. Apparently, Patricia had called the restaurant 5 more times overnight, leaving increasingly frantic messages. She showed up at 7 a.m., Carlos from the kitchen tells me, sat in her car in the parking lot for 2 hours before Marco arrived. I peek through the blinds toward Marco's office. Through the glass door, I can see Patricia sitting across from Marco, her posture rigid. She's wearing the same blazer as yesterday, but it looks rumpled now, like she slept in it. Her makeup is smudged, and even from here, I can see her hands trembling as she gestures emphatically. Marco sits calmly, his hands folded on the desk, occasionally shaking his head. The conversation is clearly not going her way. Luis appears beside me, coffee in hand. Marco recorded the whole thing with her last night, he says quietly. The way she treated you, demanding to see the owner like that. He had a feeling something wasn't right. What's going to happen to her? I ask. Luis shrugs. Not our problem, but between us, she's blacklisted from every decent restaurant group in the city now. Word travels fast in this industry. The office door opens, and Patricia emerges, her face blotchy and eyes red-rimmed. She walks quickly through the restaurant without making eye contact with anyone, clutching her folder to her chest like a shield. As she passes my station, she hesitates for just a moment, her eyes meeting mine. There's recognition there, and something like shame, before she hurries toward the exit. Marco follows a minute later, his expression weary but resolved. He spots me and walks over, clapping a hand on my shoulder. Danny, he says warmly, you handled yourself with professionalism last night. That's exactly what I look for in my staff. Thank you, I say, genuinely touched. In 2 years, I've only spoken directly to Marco a handful of times. That woman, he says, shaking his head. She thought being regional manager meant being queen. In my restaurants, we respect everyone, from dishwasher to chef to server. This is family business. He squeezes my shoulder once more before addressing the entire staff, who have gathered around us. Today, we start interviews for a new regional manager, Marco announces. And this time, I will personally make sure they understand our values. As we prepare for the lunch service, I can't help but glance toward the parking lot, where Patricia sits in her car, staring at her phone. Her shoulders are shaking slightly, and I realize she's crying. Despite everything, I feel a twinge of pity. In a single evening, Patricia Simmons went from being on top of the world to losing everything, all because she couldn't treat a server with basic human dignity. The restaurant business has a way of teaching humility, one way or another. I watch through the blinds as Marco sets his phone on the desk, tapping the screen to start recording. Smart move. Patricia sits across from him, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. I have anxiety, I hear her say, her voice muffled through the glass. I wasn't myself yesterday. You have to understand. Luis appears beside me, coffee in hand. She's been here since 7 a.m. Marco's recording everything. Can she really threaten legal action? I ask, watching Patricia's animated gestures through the window. She can try. Luis shrugs. But Marco's been through this before. We both jump when Patricia's voice suddenly rises. I deserve a second chance. You can't just throw away my career over one bad day. Marco remains calm, reaching into his desk drawer and pulling out a manila folder. He slides it across to Patricia, whose face drains of color as she flips through the contents. What's in there? I whisper. Complaints, Luis says, from her previous jobs. Marco had our lawyer gather them overnight. Patricia's voice rises again. This is discrimination. I'll sue you for everything you have. Marco just points to his phone, still recording, and says something that makes Patricia's shoulders slump. When lunch service begins, I'm too busy to spy on Marco's office drama, but by mid-afternoon, the news has spread through the staff. Marissa shows me Patricia's LinkedIn profile on her phone. 5 jobs in 3 years, she says, and look at the gaps between them. I scan the profile, noting how each position lasted progressively shorter periods. Her most recent role at Bellini's barely made it to 4 months. Check this out, Carlos says during our pre-dinner meeting, showing us a food blog on his phone. It's hers, Patricia's palette. She trashes local restaurants. We scroll through scathing reviews of nearly every upscale restaurant in the city. Her critiques are vicious, personal, attacking chefs by name and suggesting servers be fired for minor infractions. She gave us 1 star last month. Luis points out, showing a particularly nasty review of Marco's, said our carbonara was an insult to Italian cuisine and that the server should find another profession. I remember that night. The server was Alicia, who'd been with Marco's for 5 years. She'd cried in the break room after that review went viral in local foodie groups, so she was gunning for Marco's all along. I realize she wanted to take over and clean house. The next day, the negative reviews start pouring in. 1-star ratings flood our Google business page, all posted within hours of each other. Most mention me specifically, claiming I was rude, incompetent, even racist toward customers. These are fake, Marco assures me, scrolling through them on his tablet. All from new accounts with no review history. We'll report them, but the damage is spreading. By Friday, we're getting calls. Angry, threatening calls from people claiming to be Patricia's friends, demanding Marco reinstate her. They say they're boycotting us, Marissa tells me after hanging up on the 3rd call that morning. Like we care about losing entitled jerks as customers. The worst call comes during the dinner rush. I'm delivering a bottle of Barolo to table 7 when Luis grabs my arm. Marco needs you in his office. Now, when I enter, Marco is on speakerphone, his expression thunderous. A deep, authoritative voice fills the room. Don't think you understand who you're dealing with, Mr. Castellano. I've invested in 3 restaurant groups that failed to see reason. My daughter deserves that position. Mr. Simmons, Marco says calmly, nodding at me to sit. As I've explained, your daughter's behavior was unacceptable. She says your server was incompetent, Mr. Simmons counters, that he got her order wrong repeatedly. Marco looks at me, raising an eyebrow. I shake my head. Danny is one of my best servers, Marco says, and we have recordings of the entire interaction. There's silence on the other end. Then, what would it take to resolve this situation? Marco leans forward. I can offer a settlement. We won't provide a reference, but we won't share negative information either. Patricia can move on cleanly. Mr. Simmons relays this to someone in the background. Patricia, I assume, and returns with her answer. Unacceptable. Patricia wants the regional manager position as promised, with a public apology from your server. Marco's laugh is genuine but tired. Mr. Simmons, that will never happen. Then prepare for consequences, Mr. Simmons says before hanging up. Marco sighs, rubbing his temples. Danny, I'm sorry you're caught in this. It's not your fault, I tell him. But why is she so fixated on this job? There are other restaurants. Because she can't admit failure, Marco says. Look at her pattern. Each job ends worse than the last. She needs this position to prove she wasn't wrong about the others. That night, I search for more information about Patricia online. Beyond her vicious food blog, I find her Instagram account filled with photos of expensive meals with captions criticizing the presentation or service. In one post from 6 months ago, she's posing with a man I recognize recognized as her father, outside a restaurant with a "For Lease" sign. The caption reads, "Next acquisition? Daddy knows I need a proper venue to show this city what real management looks like." I send the screenshot to Marco, who replies immediately, "Her father tried to buy this building last year. I refused to sell." Everything clicks into place. This wasn't just about a job, it was personal. Patricia had targeted Marcos specifically, perhaps planning to take over from within since her father couldn't buy it outright. The next morning, I arrived to find Patricia sitting in her car in the parking lot again. She looks worse than before, hair unwashed, wearing the same blazer she had on 3 days ago. She's staring at the restaurant with an intensity that makes my skin crawl. As I walk past, she rolls down her window. "You," she says, voice raspy. "This is your fault." I keep walking, but she calls after me. "I just needed one chance. Do you know what it's like to have everyone expecting perfection?" I pause, turning back. "Look, I'm sorry about what happened, but..." "No, you're not," she cuts me off. "But you will be. My father doesn't lose. Ever." Inside, Marco is already waiting, looking grim. "She's still out there," I tell him. "I know," he sighs. "Her father called again this morning, offered to buy the restaurant for twice its value. Are you considering it?" Marco shakes his head. "This place isn't just business. It's family. My father opened it 30 years ago." He looks at me seriously. "Danny, be careful. People like the Simmons family. They're used to getting what they want." As if on cue, my phone buzzes with a notification. Someone has posted my personal information in a local Facebook group, calling me a racist and urging people to teach me a lesson. I show Marco, who immediately calls his lawyer. "Document everything," he tells me, "and don't be alone in the parking lot. We'll get through this." But as I peek through the blinds at Patricia, still sitting in her car, staring unblinking at the restaurant entrance, I'm not so sure. The look in her eyes isn't just entitlement anymore. It's obsession. Friday night at Marco's is always chaos, but tonight feels different. The energy is electric. Tables packed with weekend diners enjoying their wine and pasta, while servers weave between them with practiced precision. I'm in the middle of describing the truffle risotto special to a couple celebrating their anniversary when I see her walk in. Patricia Simmons. She's wearing a tailored black dress this time, her hair perfectly styled, makeup flawless, a stark contrast to the disheveled woman who'd been sitting in our parking lot all week. But her eyes give her away. They dart around the restaurant with the same intensity I'd seen through her car window. "Danny," Louise hisses as he passes behind me with a tray of drinks. "She's here." I nod slightly, finishing my spiel about the risotto before heading toward the kitchen. Marco is already on his way out, having spotted Patricia from his office. He intercepts her before she can get past the host stand. "Miss Simmons," he says calmly, "I believe we've concluded our business. I must ask you to leave." Patricia's laugh is too loud, drawing the attention of nearby diners. "Concluded? You destroyed my career and think we're done?" I hover near the bar, ready to intervene if needed. Marissa shoots me a worried look from the host stand. "Please lower your voice," Marco says. "This is a private business matter." "Is it?" Patricia's voice rises even higher. "Or is it discrimination? Harassment? Targeting a woman trying to advance in this industry? People are definitely staring now. I see a few phones come out, recording the confrontation. This is exactly what we don't need. Viral drama that could damage Marco's reputation, regardless of who's in the right. "Miss Simmons," Marco tries again, "if you'd like to discuss this, we can do so privately, not in front of my customers." "Your customers should know what kind of establishment they're supporting." Patricia gestures wildly, knocking over a water glass on the nearest table. The couple seated there jump up as water cascades into their laps. Marco motions for Luis to help the guests while he continues trying to defuse the situation. "Patricia, please, don't Patricia me," she snaps. "You promised me a position, then fired me based on the word of a server who couldn't even get a simple order right." That's when I step forward, unable to stop myself. "That's not true, and you know it." Patricia whirls toward me, her eyes narrowing. "You, the incompetent server who couldn't count to six. 6 anchovies, I say calmly, on a Caesar salad that you sent back 3 times despite it being exactly what you ordered." The restaurant has gone eerily quiet. Even the kitchen staff have poked their heads out to watch the drama unfold. "You're lying," Patricia hisses, but her voice wavers slightly. That's when the front door opens again, and a tall, imposing man in an expensive suit walks in. I recognize him immediately from Patricia's Instagram, her father, Mr. Simmons. His presence seems to fill the room, and Patricia straightens, suddenly looking triumphant. "Daddy," she says, "this is the restaurant I told you about, the one that discriminated against me." Mr. Simmons surveys the scene with cold calculation. "Marco Castellano? I've been trying to reach you." Marco nods. "Mr. Simmons, as I explained on the phone, I'm not here to negotiate anymore." Mr. Simmons interrupts. "I'm here to inform you that I've made an offer on this building. Your landlord seems quite interested in selling." A murmur ripples through the restaurant. Marco's face remains impassive, but I can see the tension in his shoulders. "This restaurant has been here for 30 years, Marco says quietly. "My father built this business from nothing, and now it's mine," Mr. Simmons replies, "unless you reconsider my daughter's position." Patricia smirks at me, then at Marco. The victory in her eyes makes something snap inside me. I pull out my phone. Before anyone makes any decisions, I say, "I think Mr. Simmons should hear what actually happened." I tap the screen, and Patricia's voice fills the restaurant. "Do you know who I am? I'm going to be your boss on Tuesday. I could fire you right now if I wanted to." The recording continues, capturing every entitled demand, every threat she made that night. Patricia's face drains of color as her own words condemn her. "Turn that off," she demands, lunging for my phone. Marco steps between us. "That's enough, Danny," he says gently, "but the damage is done." Mr. Simmons is staring at his daughter with dawning comprehension. "Patricia," he says slowly, "you told me the server was rude to you, unprovoked." "He was," she insists. "That recording is edited." Alicia, who's been serving tables nearby, steps forward. "She came in last month too, left me a 1-star review online and made me cry." "Hesitant table?" Carlos nods. "She blogs about restaurants, trashes them all the time." Other servers chime in with their own Patricia stories. How she demanded special treatment, complained about perfectly prepared food, threatened staff with bad reviews if they didn't comp her meals. Mr. Simmons listens to it all, his expression growing grimmer by the second. Finally, he turns to his daughter. "Is this true? All of it?" Patricia's composure cracks. "They're exaggerating. I just have high standards." "Like the standards that got you fired from Bellini's?" Marco asks quietly. "And the 3 positions before that?" Patricia's eyes well with tears, but they seem different from the calculated ones she'd shown Marco earlier. These look genuine. You don't understand, she says, her voice breaking. Everyone expects me to be perfect. Daddy's successful daughter who runs restaurants and knows food, and I can't fail again. I can't. The restaurant is silent as Patricia collapses into a chair, her shoulders shaking. Mr. Simmons looks uncomfortable, caught between embarrassment and concern for his daughter. Marco sighs, then does something that surprises me. He sits down across from Patricia. You want to work in restaurants? He asks. Really work? Not just manage? She looks up, confused. What? I have an opening. Dishwasher, 6 nights a week, minimum wage plus tips from the servers. You'll learn every aspect of restaurant operations from the ground up. Patricia stares at him in disbelief. You want me to wash dishes? I want you to earn respect. Marco corrects her. To understand what it means to be part of a restaurant family. No shortcuts. Mr. Simmons clears his throat. Marco, surely we can come to a more appropriate arrangement. No, Dad. Patricia interrupts, wiping her eyes. He's right. She looks around the restaurant, at the servers and customers watching her, and something seems to shift in her expression. I've been entitled. I know that. She turns back to Marco. When can I start? Marco studies her for a moment. Monday, 4 p.m. Wear clothes you don't mind getting dirty. Patricia nods slowly, then stands and faces her father. I need to do this myself. No more buying my way out of problems. Mr. Simmons looks between his daughter and Marco, then sighs. I'll withdraw my offer on the building. He extends his hand to Marco, and I apologize for my part in enabling this behavior. As they leave, the restaurant gradually returns to its normal Friday night buzz. Servers resume taking orders, the kitchen sends out steaming plates of pasta, and customers return to their conversations. Luis appears beside me, shaking his head in amazement. Did that just happen? Is Patricia Simmons really going to wash dishes here? Apparently, I say, still processing it myself. Marco claps a hand on my shoulder. That recording was risky, Danny. I know. I'm sorry if I overstepped. No, he interrupts. It was exactly what was needed. He looks toward the door where Patricia and her father had exited. Sometimes people need to hear themselves to understand who they've become. As I return to my section, I can't help wondering if Patricia will actually show up on Monday. Part of me hopes she does. Not because I've forgiven her behavior, but because everyone deserves a chance to rewrite their story. Even Patricia Simmons. Patricia shows up on Monday at 3:45 p.m., wearing jeans and a plain t-shirt that probably cost more than my weekly paycheck. Her hair is pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she's removed her designer watch and jewelry. When she walks through the kitchen door, the entire staff goes silent. Marco introduces her to Carlos, our head dishwasher, who looks like he's been told to babysit a live grenade. Patricia extends her hand formally, like she's at a business meeting rather than starting her first shift scrubbing pots. I'll show you the ropes, Carlos says, handing her a stained apron. First rule, everything gets cleaned twice, once to remove food, once to sanitize. Patricia nods, her face a careful mask of neutrality as she ties the apron around her waist. I watch from the service station as Carlos demonstrates the industrial dishwasher, pointing out the temperature gauges and detergent levels. Patricia's taking notes on her phone until Carlos gently takes it from her. No phones in the dish pit, he explains. Water damage. We'll get you a locker. The look on her face when she surrenders her iPhone is almost comical, like she's handing over a vital organ. By 7 p.m., Patricia's designer t-shirt is soaked through with sweat and dishwater. Her carefully manicured nails are already chipping, and her composed expression has crumbled into exhaustion. When a bus tub of dishes crashes to the floor, she nearly bursts into tears. I can't do this. I overhear her telling Marco during her break. This is humiliating. It's honest work, Marco replies calmly. Every person in this restaurant started somewhere similar. Even you? She challenges. Especially me. My father made me wash dishes for a year before I could touch a single ingredient. Patricia returns to the dish pit after her break, moving slower but more methodically. By closing time, she's swaying on her feet, her hands red and raw despite the rubber gloves. See you tomorrow, Carlos tells her as she hangs up her apron. Tomorrow? She repeats, looking horrified. I have to do this again? 6 days a week, Marco reminds her, passing by with inventory sheets. Unless you're quitting already? I watch her internal struggle play across her face, pride warring with exhaustion. Finally, she straightens her shoulders. I'll be here, she says, though her voice wavers. The next morning, I arrive for lunch service to find Patricia already there, attacking a stack of sheet pans with steel wool. Her hands are bandaged where blisters formed overnight, but she's working steadily. Need help? I ask, surprising myself. She looks up, suspicious. Why would you help me? I was awful to you. Because everyone deserves a second chance, I say, repeating Marco's philosophy. And those sheet pans are the worst. Over the next few weeks, a strange pattern develops. Patricia shows up early, works her full shift without complaint, and stays late to help with cleanup. She nearly quits at least once a week. Usually after a particularly brutal dinner rush leaves her with mountains of dishes, but something keeps her coming back. I find myself helping her during slow periods, teaching her server shortcuts and kitchen terminology. She's a quick learner when she's not being defensive, and I discover she actually knows quite a bit about food from her blogging days. Why are you being nice to me? She asks one night as we're breaking down cardboard boxes for recycling. I tried to get you fired. Because you're trying, I answer honestly. And that counts for something here. 6 weeks in, Patricia gathers the staff before service and does something none of us expected. She apologizes individually to each person she'd wronged, to Alicia for the cruel review, to Luis for threatening his job, to Carlos for initially treating him like he was beneath her. When she gets to me, her voice catches. Danny, I was horrible to you because I was terrified of failing again. I thought being tough meant being cruel. I was wrong, and I'm sorry. The kitchen is silent for a moment before Carlos breaks the tension by tossing Patricia a clean side towel. Enough feelings. We've got dinner service in 20 minutes. Patricia laughs a genuine laugh without the sharp edge it used to have and returns to her station. That night, Marco moves her from dishes to prep cook, her first promotion. 3 months later, Patricia completes her first server shift. She's not great. She forgets specials and mixes up orders, but she handles it with a humility that would have been unimaginable when I first met her. How'd I do? She asks me as we count tips. Better than I did my first night, I admit. You didn't cry in the walk-in once. She laughs. Oh, I did. Twice. Just didn't let anyone see. The real test comes when when her father visits the restaurant as a customer. Mr. Simmons sits at table 9, watching his daughter balance trays and recite specials with the same intensity he probably uses to evaluate business acquisitions. When Patricia approaches me at the service station, she's nervous. He wants to speak with Marco. And you. Marco and I join Mr. Simmons at his table after his meal. He studies us both before speaking. I didn't think she'd last a week, he admits. Patricia has never stuck with anything difficult in her life. People can surprise you when given the right opportunity, Marco says. Mr. Simmons nods. I've enabled her entitlement for years. It seemed easier than pushing her to face failure. He looks directly at me. Thank you for standing up to her that night. It might have been the first time anyone ever did. 1 year later, Patricia is managing a small cafe that Marco opened downtown. It's a simple place, just breakfast and lunch, but she runs it with a mix of efficiency and compassion that makes it successful from day one. Her staff actually likes her, and she knows every regular customer by name. When Marco decides to finally hire a regional manager, he invites Patricia to help with the interviews. Together, they develop an unusual training program. Every management candidate must work 1 week in each position, from dishwasher to server, before being considered for the role. It's the Patricia principle, Marco jokes during a staff meeting. You can't manage what you don't understand. Patricia creates a staff appreciation program that spreads across all 5 Marco's locations. Each month, employees nominate colleagues who've gone above and beyond, with winners receiving bonuses and recognition. I've become assistant manager at the original location, often partnering with Patricia to train new hires. We show them the recording of Patricia's meltdown as part of orientation with her permission, followed by videos of her journey from dishwasher to manager. The restaurant business will teach you humility one way or another, she tells each group. You can learn it the hard way like I did, or you can choose it from the beginning. Sometimes when I'm closing up, I think about that Tuesday night 2 years ago, how a woman demanding exactly 6 anchovies on her Caesar salad changed the course of so many lives. Patricia Simmons came into Marco's looking to rule it, but instead, she found something better, a place to belong. And maybe that's the real secret of the restaurant business. Behind every perfect meal is a team of imperfect people, all just trying to do a little better than they did yesterday.